Okay, so obstacles that we came into, understanding of what ACP means, a buy-in from all stakeholders, familiarity, comfort level, and ease of utilizing career cruising. That's not just with teachers, it's also with students. Switching from what used to be a CAT program to now our ACP program without losing elements of it that have been successful. And then changing from something that once was hard and like a hard copy to something that's electronic.
So in order for you guys to be successful, one thing that they have to do is they have to teach the entire staff to work with small groups of kids. And that becomes an obstacle. So I want to commend you guys because you're teaching the staff, and I think that has rolled out really well because of your willingness to help our staff understand their role and responsibility and meeting with every one of those small groups. We make a difference with small groups. That's what makes a difference. That bonds that relationship, and it allows our kids to have a go-to person. So I know that that's been a ton of work for you to make an entire staff feel comfortable on that, but I commend you guys because you've done a great job on that.
Okay, opportunities for improvement then. The ACP leadership team, and we've been working with that, with Dr. Schultz as well as Michelle, and developing that for the future. So Julie Schell is going to be the ACP coordinator. It's going to be the three of us, Mr. Lehman, and 3 or 4 teachers, correct, at the high school level. And this is the jumping off point, and that's going to happen in January. We need to have training and ample time for ACP management and facilitation, a lot of words there, but essentially we got to pull all of this together so that it makes sense for all of the people that we're going to be working with, and primarily it really boils down to being able to communicate this clearly to the staff, grades 6 through 12, because those are the people that are going to be working directly with those students. And truly for them to understand what ACP is and what it isn't. One of the big obstacles we've had so far is that ACP is career cruising. No, career cruising is a resource that we're using as a part of ACP that's been brought before us, but it's all of those different elements, and essentially just tying all of that together for our students so the students can truly understand themselves. CISA training, we're going to be going up to CISA January 25th, I believe, and then also in April. In April, they're going to have what's known as Inspire training. Inspire is an additional component for career cruising, which links business and education directly. I've been a part of the Workforce Hub Committee with the Wausau Chamber for decades. And one of the things that we really worked towards was to connect business and education directly. We finally have that piece. Inspire is a paid-for program through career cruising that will help businesses essentially have a page that education now can communicate directly with. So therefore, Greenheck, for example, they may put on their page that they are willing to host youth apprenticeship students, career fairs, job shadow, all different kinds of opportunities. We as educators and the students will be able to communicate directly with those businesses as per Greenheck and say, yes, I have a student that is willing to do that. Now there's a paid program. Where is the money coming from? It's actually coming through something called Synergy, C-E-N-T-U-T-E-R-G-Y, I believe. And there's 9 or 11 Synergy regions across the state of Wisconsin. And they truly just represent geographically alike chambers of commerce. So our Synergy region kind of runs north and real south. It goes all the way down to Adams Friendship. But the businesses will actually pay for that aspect of it. So beginning in the fall of 2018, for the first time, we're going to have that direct link through that Inspire piece of career cruising that's going to be in place. The businesses have already started working on that, and now education is finally coming back to them.
And that'll be really cool because Lamers, IRO, the paper mill, anybody who wants to connect with us will no longer have to call Marathon, Stratford, Mosinee, Wausau. There will be one place for them to go to and for us to be able to connect with businesses. So very excited about how we can further develop that partnership with our businesses. So that'll be awesome.
And to not duplicate efforts either, because with business, obviously we're going to make it extremely efficient. Understanding that career cruising, I already mentioned that, is not ACP. Finding ways to electronically house student work, we're working on that as well, and we're beginning with that through career cruising as well as through their own folders and Chromebooks and all of that stuff at school as well. And then communication tool for ACP to share with all of the stakeholders meaning the community members, the business, parents. That's more directly what we're working with right now, students and parents. And then make ACP the umbrella for all that we do at MHS. And that was one of the big things, the real selling point for the Career Academy program was that was the umbrella for everything. Because when we first started the Career Academy program, one of the things that we realized was that we were doing all of these things, but they were disconnected. So we attempted to put a connection between them so that when the students are working on that or working within that, they understand the connection between doing this physics project, going on this field trip with Sue Swinick through foods or something like that, and how that fits into the grand scheme of things for them individually.
This is a sample, so we showed you guys the component chart of everything that we do. We're looking at creating a new logo, and so this is just an example that could show, be a template for our students that discusses the possibilities and opportunities that they have in creating a plan for themselves. And these are some things that we're hoping that you guys can support us with directly. So the first one is staying informed with how academic and career planning looks in our district. And we hope that tonight, I know we presented a lot, but we hope that tonight you're leaving with some information on, that we're working proactively with students, that we have a lot of opportunities that our students can utilize, and that we continue moving forward. And you guys are involved and informed. 2, share your positive advocacy for career planning. And specifically, if we could get your guys' involvement for the senior exit interviews, that would be fantastic. It's a great way for you to see our students, to hear about their career plans, to see them in such a professional nature, and to be able to see the growth that they have accumulated. Help us connect to businesses who can support this as well. Encourage them to register for that business portal of Inspire, because again, that is a tool that connects all of us. And again, relationships is really important. We need our community members and local businesses to support our students too.
So I guess that's it. Thank you so much. Any questions?
I would just tell you, as a parent of 2 sophomores and a senior, hopefully you've had positive experiences with them, but I get to see this firsthand, and we host a CIA Day, and I just think the work you're doing is outstanding, and I just want to thank you for that.
They've been a leader. Mosinee School District, have been a leader for a long time. Thank you.
It's good for kids. That's what it's all about.
Amen.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, Ms. Brunel, student board report.
Okay. So in recent news, the mascot initiative failed. The Library Club held another successful Scholastic Book Fair for December 1st and 2nd. The club raised funds for scholarships and lots of new books. Mosinee Manufacturing made 6 benches for our hallways and 4 chair carts for our bank department. And they also completed some work for a local farmer recently. Local motion. We had our annual Christmas concert on December 19th, including all grades and choirs. The National Honor Society recently inducted new members. Many members are meeting with their elementary pen pals this week. For the athletic report, boys basketball won over Wausau West, Wausau East, Pines, and Medford, with 1 loss to Marathon. Girls basketball lost to Rhinelander Marathon, with wins over Adams Friendship, Pines, Wausau East, Wapaka, and Tomahawk. Our girls gymnastics team attended the Hodak Invite in Rhinelander and scored a team score of 105 at the first event. Boys hockey defeated the Wausau East Merrill Co-op in round 1 of the Marathon Cup 5-1 and fell to Wausau West and DC Everest in the second and third games. Girls hockey is 3-3 overall and currently on a 2-game winning streak. And the Mosinee dance team recently placed 4th at the Little Shoot Dance competition where we competed in Division 2.
Thank you very much. Any questions by the board? I would encourage everyone to go take a look at these benches they talked about. They are incredibly rugged and pretty impressive to see what Mosinee Manufacturing came up with. Item number 9 is old business. we pass those out? Amy's going to be distributing a letter from President Alice to Mr. Tomchek regarding the old business or the new business from the last meeting. I will read that to the board. He is out of state right now and couldn't be here to do this himself. I'll do my best at reading here. Dear Corey, at our last school board meeting, you submitted a letter to the entire school board indicating your concern about potential violations of the Wisconsin Open Meetings Law based upon comments made in a letter by board member Kevin Thiel. In your letter, you suggested that I should meet with school district legal counsel regarding this situation and also submit information to the Marathon County District Attorney to investigate whether or not a violation of Wisconsin Open Meetings Law did in fact occur. I have met with school district legal counsel Dean Dietrich to discuss the contents of your letter and to present various items of information that I have regarding the content of the letter from board member Kevin Thiel. After discussing this matter with legal counsel, I have concluded that there is no factual basis for a claim that school board members violated the Open Meetings Law. I am not aware of facts to supporting the type of conclusion that school board members engaged in a, quote, walking quorum, discussing a topic identified in the correspondence from board member Kevin Thiel in such a fashion that would be construed as a violation of Open Meetings Law. I do note that board member Kevin Thiel indicated that he was speaking on behalf of the majority of the school board, but I have not found a basis for that conclusion. It may be appropriate for board member Kevin Thiel to refer this matter to the Marathon County District Attorney on his own if he in fact believes that he acted in any way contrary to the requirements of the Open Meetings Law. I also reviewed the background information relating to email communication between several board members with Attorney Dietrich. The information that I have shows email communication between board members, but does not show that board members were given information about communication from other board members or information about reactions from other board members. It was therefore his conclusion that these communications do not constitute the basis for a, quote, walking quorum that would constitute a violation of the Wisconsin Open Meetings Law. If you have additional information that would support a conclusion that board members discussed any matter in a fashion that constituted a violation of the Open Meetings Law, I do recommend that you forward that information to Attorney Dean Dietrich for consideration. I am also concerned about the atmosphere that has been created over the past year at school board meetings. I have asked Attorney Dietrich to meet with the school board in an open session to discuss the requirements of the Wisconsin Open Meetings Law so that every board member understands their personal and professional obligations while serving as a board member to be in compliance with state laws. I have also asked Attorney Dietrich to meet with school board in open session at the same meeting to discuss the proper atmosphere and decorum that should be exhibited by board members during board meetings, recognizing that each individual board member has a right to express his or her opinion regarding topics being discussed or considered by the school board at a regular meeting. I will be working with Attorney Dietrich to schedule a special meeting of the school board after the holidays to clarify board member expectations and responsibilities. Thank you for taking the time to bring this matter to the attention of the school board. I look forward to future discussions regarding compliance with the Open Meetings Law and board member responsibilities. Sincerely, Matt Alice, President, Board of Education, Mosinee School District.
At this time, I need to inform this board that our President, Mr. Alice, failed in following my instructions and also failed in his leadership and an effort to reach out to me to discuss the issue. While I'm sure that he believes that this letter constitutes some closure on the matter, I stand in disagreement. Knowing that he failed to notify the district attorney's office, I followed the guidelines outlined on the State of Wisconsin Board of Ethics website and have contacted the Marathon County District Attorney's Office with my complaint. The State Ethics Board asked me to start there, and so I would follow their guidelines. So this is far from a closure.
Okay, thank you. Item number 10, new business. Discussion of possible decision, approval of delegating a WASB representative to vote on resolutions and priorities for convention.
I will make a motion to nominate Kelly to be the WASB delegate.
We have a motion on the floor nominating Kelly Zebro as the delegate, seconded by Mark Lewis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
I will take on that responsibility.
Agenda item number 11.
Mr. Vice President, has
Yes,
this
sir.
body reviewed all the motions that our representative be voting on? Has anybody read all the motions? Are we planning on giving our representative any direction on how to vote on those motions? Are we just trusting? I can't hear you, Kelly.
I said, I get them sent to me.
They were like,
They're lent to everybody.
Right,
Yeah,
but I
they
mean,
were
I
shared.
get them paper copies, but I, and I'm not speaking for them, so that's why I kind of, but yes, usually that is the direction.
Can you tell us how you intend to vote on some of these items?
Well, as of right now. And I glanced through them, to be truthful, Corey, I haven't.
I would wager that most of the board members here have not read that.
And when you sit in those meetings, it's a long process, and there's amendments to amendments, and some of them can take up to 30 minutes, and some of them can pass quite quickly, so.
I understand that, but that's,
So what you're asking the board is if each individual agrees.
so.
If you have any concerns, let me know.
Well, as a body, you get to vote for one person, so just asking each individual person to tell you, and then you being able to judge which way to vote is inappropriate. So, one of the items is transgender student rights, and that's certainly going to be a lightning rod of issues. And I'm not sure that I stand in support of it, the way it's written and the way it's basically, it says that, if I'm understanding this correctly, affirms the right of transgender and gender nonconforming students to use the bathroom and facilities consistent with their gender identity, and urges the adoption and implementation of legislation and policies to prevent discrimination based on gender identity and expression that require individuals to be treated equally under the law as the gender by which they identify. I can tell you that I stand diametrically opposed to that. I would suggest the rest of the board decide how they want to be receptive, and specifically that issue, and on the other issues that are forwarded here. You're sending one person to the school, state school convention, and if you don't give them direction, you're giving them carte blanche on how they're going to vote.
Do you have concerns with any other issues that you reviewed in there?
You know, I'm not going to take the lead on this because I am not in a position of leadership on this board.
Okay, well, you addressed this issue and then brought up a topic that's going to be discussed, and I wanted to make sure if you had other issues, those were identified here, because I think you make a valid point with a concern over that issue.
Technically should not have been discussed at the discussion before we voted, and not after.
Yes.
So I think we move on, please.
So the action item on the board was just to set the representative. And
It should have come up in the discussions portion before we voted. After the vote is taken, you move on.
you're failing to understand the purposes of the agenda item. The agenda item is
Okay,
just to
well-
authorize someone to vote.
Right, I'm going to agree, and we'll move on. I'll agree with you, Diane, in that we had a motion to select a representative to vote on resolutions and priorities for the convention. That was done. Barring another motion or something affecting that, I don't see a place for discussion moving forward.
Let the minutes reflect that I stand opposed to that particular issue, and I think it's a failure that we are not discussing how that person should vote.
Item number 11, Curriculum and Standards Committee report.
Just a little over here, so I'm not talking more behind you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Oh, you're like Kramer coming in from the other side here. Good evening, everyone. Yes.
No.
Reading needs on, questions done on?
All right, good evening, everyone. We have a brief curriculum and standards report, but a very important one. The bulk of our curriculum and standards meeting this past month was really about our process and our status with our standards alignment process that the entire staff has been going through. So on every collaborative Monday, as well as our in-service days, we are devoted to a process where teachers are aligning their curriculum, what they teach, what students are to know and be able to do, and some of the resources we utilize and how we assess how we know what students know, and what we do when they know it, and what we do when they need reteaching or extension of those knowledge bases. And so we talked about what those formats look like. We talked our curriculum and standards committee through what does a curriculum map look like and why is it so crucial that teachers are going through this process in relationship to our strategic plan, in relationship to our school improvement goals, and into what's best practice with instruction. So we did an activity with just updating. We're continuing to work through all the courses, grade levels, and content areas as part of our alignment to the standards. And that is one of our goals with our strategic plan here in the district. The other main agenda item we had was under the accountability piece with school improvement plans. And that is, we talked through our state report cards. As you all know, in November, the embargo was lifted and there was a public release of all the state report card scores. I think it was on the day of our last board meeting, actually. As a district, we scored a 75, which is in the exceeds expectations range. And as a committee, what we did was we broke down in the meeting and did some learning and some collaborating in small groups about what comprises a score. There are 4 main categories, just to be brief, in that you get a score and a weight for your student achievement scores, which are your standardized test scores that our students take, basically the forward exam, the dynamic learning map, which is the alternative assessment for special education students, and at basically the high school it is the ACT, the statewide ACT that all students are required to take now versus how it used to be where it was a college preparatory piece for those who wanted to take it. There's also a category you're weighted on which shows your growth over time, cohorts and groups of kids over time. In English, your English language arts, which is your reading and your writing, and then your mathematics growth. We talked through, there's a section that is part of your state report card score on closing the gaps. So are you closing the gaps in comparison to how your students in your districts are doing with socioeconomic status kids, your free and reduced lunch children versus non, your second language learners versus non, and your special education versus non-special education students. And then they compare those gaps. Are they getting bigger or smaller? And in comparison to the state norms, are they getting bigger or smaller, the state outcome scores? And the last piece is the on-track and post-secondary readiness piece, which includes things like your graduation rate, your attendance rate, and your achievement, and depending on the level of school you are, with 3rd grade and 8th grade reading achievement scores. So we talked through that and had a great discussion, posed some questions, some guiding questions on how well do we understand that data and what goes into that score, and just did a little more learning and made that connection to how is the state report card score and our accountability connected to our school improvement scores. So that was the bulk of the curriculum and standards committee report.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Item number 11B, discussion of possible decision approval of extended field trip requests.
We had one field trip request come to us from Brittany Babbitt. She is a high school agricultural teacher here in Mosinee. She is requesting to take an integrated curriculum experience trip to Minneapolis, where they will be visiting the Raptor Education Center, as well as the Minneapolis Zoo, before heading to the world's toughest rodeo as an incentive part of that trip for all of the students who participated in the annual FFA fruit sale fundraiser. So this again is a connection between concepts learned in class and some of their agricultural related concepts they cover, and relating that to real life application in both careers and real life experiences. So Brittany, the committee unanimously recommended that we bring this to the board for approval for that trip.
I will make that motion to approve for the extended field trip request.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the FFA field trip by Diane Gorman and a second by Mark Lewis. Any further discussion?
How many kids do you think are more than that?
I think she quoted around 30 to 40. Is that right, Nate? That was the expected number who participated.
Any further discussion?
The rodeo and the zoo are going to be in Minneapolis.
Yes. Yep, the Raptor Education Center, the zoo, and the World's Toughest Rodeo.
We end up coming back around 2 in the morning. So
Yes.
it's a long- It says 2 days, but they do.
Right.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12 is the Building Committee meeting report.
We heard from Mr. Kaiser on several issues, mostly energy related and the progress thereof. The biggest issue was, of course, the question that Kevin had on the MCA Sports Complex. That information was provided in the packet. He may or may not have additional questions, so he's at the next meeting. Committee, was there anything I'm missing on this report? It was pretty simple.
Great. Do we need to, so that covers all 4 of these. Thank you very much. Item number 13, Personnel Committee meeting report.
The Personnel Committee met at 6:30 tonight. We didn't have much on the agenda. The first item on the agenda was to the approval of the summer school principal for 2018 school year. We had a little discussion on that. We're going to open that up and for 10 days and get applications, and then we've decided to bring it to the full board for decision what hiring committee recommends to bring it to the full board to vote on in January. And then the committee heard, then the committee also heard an update of the number of full-time employees in the
I
district.
have a question on that issue,
Sure.
the summer school principal. Can you share what the committee's concern was with Mr. Lynn? Or why would we not go?
With Mr. Lynn, it was more of, the job wasn't posted. So they just kind of implemented him back into the same position, and we felt we wanted to open it up and see what applicants can. Still to hire the best candidate.
So it was just you and Kevin on that.
I made a motion 2-3 years ago when we had that other, we had to forget her name, and we gave it to her the second time. I brought it up that we should open it up.
You did.
And they said they
Yes,
were
you
going to
did.
open it up every year.
I was there, yes. Right.
That was 3-4 years ago.
Correct. It's just kind of policy. I don't know if that's the correct terminology. And they still will hire the best candidate. And so that we will see in January. The committee also heard an update on the number of full-time employees. Kevin had asked for that information, and that is in with the personnel committee meeting notes. And we also had, the committee was updated on the extracurricular hires, and there's just 3 of those, and there no action was needed. And there was no further agenda items put forth to the personnel committee. And so that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions regarding that? We'll move on to item number 14, Finance Committee meeting report.
Okay, this evening at the Finance Committee, we discuss the monthly voucher list, and so moved for $1,498,795.63 for December 19, 2017.
I'll second that.
There'll be a roll call vote.
Barnes,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kraftberger,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
Yes.
Zebro.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, the second one was the treasurer's report for November 30th, 2017, dated November 11th, 2017. I would so move.
I'll second that.
And that'll be a roll call vote.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kraftberger,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That concludes the Finance Committee meeting report. We move to item number 15, other reports. Item A is the WASB report, correspondence, and upcoming meetings.
And that is immediate, and we have the convention down in Milwaukee in January, I believe, 18th or 17th. That, and when we needed to go, wanted to go, yeah, should sign up, would be signed up for that. And there also is another legal and human resource conference and workshop, February 25th and 22nd in Wisconsin at the Plaza Resort. And, excuse me, that is on a Wednesday and a Thursday, and it does really have some good conferences in there, so. And you have this all on your W. That Ann has so kindly set up. That concludes my report.
Thank you. That moves us to item 15B, the CISA 9 correspondence and report from monthly meetings.
I have a minutes from the season 9 meeting, and it's all on the website.
Okay.
Questions?
Yeah, the questions. Finance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaiser. That moves us to item number 16 for future agenda items. Mrs. Gorman.
Well, things have come up, of course, but last October I attended the Employment and School Law Seminar down in the Dells. And one of the things I brought back when we talked about was expulsions, and to expel or not to expel, and making sure that we are compliant and our letter is compliant and everything's approved, and how most districts strive for consistency in application. I'd be more than happy to share this again, but here we are sitting like a year later, we were talking about doing things and it's never come across.
I would share with the board that during agenda planning, in trying to time what a good meeting to do that was, to address that specific issue with some additional information is to address expulsions and discipline